The Dodgers may be bringing back their last MVP before Shohei Ohtani, as Cody Bellinger has reemerged as a real target.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Harry Ruiz. That's Travis Rodgers, and it's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. On today's episode, we have a one-on-one interview with former Dodger Ramón Martínez. We're also breaking down MLB's brand new media deal that reshapes where and how fans watch games. But first, a fascinating twist. The Dodgers are reportedly interested in a Cody Bellinger reunion, and Travis, you might have changed your tune from your thoughts on it last week.
Yeah, I the more I think about it, the more interesting it gets to me. I'm excited to break it all down on today's episode of Locked On Dodgers, which of course is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase.
Travis is holding it down every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. with the Travis Santamarco Show on the radio, 710 ESPN LA, or on your phone via the ESPN LA app, which, by the way, you can listen to me on the ESPN LA app too on USC game days, including this Saturday's game against Oregon, because I call their games in Spanish. Same thing with the Las Vegas Raiders. But when I'm not calling touchdowns on weekends, I'm right here breaking down Dodger baseball with you. Is it your first time tuning in? Welcome to the squad. And to our everydayers, you're the real MVPs of Locked On Dodgers. Bellinger, back in Dodger blue? All right, let's jump right into the headline of the day. Multiple industry sources say the Dodgers have expressed legitimate interest in reunited with Cody Bellinger. Yes, the same Cody Bellinger who was non-tendered 3 off-seasons ago, walked away without an offer, and rebuilt himself in Chicago and New York. Now, is this real? Yes. Is it complicated? Also, yes. And Let's talk through why the Dodgers are even considering this and whether it actually makes sense, Travis.
It's funny. It's one of those things that the first time you look at it, it doesn't feel right, sound right, or like it just because of the way it ended a few seasons ago. We could talk about the different terminology they designated for assignment, or they didn't tender an offer, or all of these different things. That's a really nice way to say the Dodgers fired Cody Bellinger. That's basically what they did. They basically said, hey, thanks for everything. You can leave now. And he was still arbitration eligible. He was not a free agent. They just basically said, peace out, to a guy that won the MVP, to a guy that was a rookie of the year, to a guy that was a very popular player in fans' eyes. And that's how bad it had gotten for Cody Bellinger, to the point where he's batting under 200. He's striking out nearly a quarter of the time. His hard hit rate had fallen off of a cliff, and they made a decision. And I would imagine that Cody Bellinger was like, okay, seriously? Like, this is how we're going to do this? And he's rebuilt his career elsewhere. The thing that makes it interesting is, I think that the Dodgers need him. What he brings, like we've talked about on a bunch of episodes of Locked On Dodgers, he's a versatile player. You could put him in all 3 outfield positions. You could put him at first base. He could potentially fill a role after Freddie Freeman is gone, if in fact you give him a multiple-year deal that extends beyond the end of Freddie's deal in a couple of years. And he's a different player than he used to be. He's gone from a guy that was striking out a quarter of the time, which is an insane rate, to one of the harder guys to strike out in baseball. It's really bizarre how that's happened. He would slide right back into an organization that he's familiar with. And I think what would be really meaningful and useful and beneficial to him is you don't need him. I think part of the reason he struggled the way that he did is everybody's like, we need him to be the MVP that he was before. They don't need that guy anymore. They've got plenty of guys like that. What they need is a guy that can play the outfield, that can throw, that can run, that is a versatile player. And if he's their 7th or 8th best guy, that's a really good player. We don't need you to carry the team. We need you to be a part of the team. And the more I think about it, the more sense it makes.
It's crazy to think, Travis, that from 1989 until now, only 3 players in the Dodgers have won the MVP.
Yeah.
Clayton Kershaw, Cody Bellinger, and Shohei Ohtani. I mean, that's a short list.
It sure is.
So,
And he deserved it. I mean, he
yeah.
was the best player in the league that year. He was fantastic. And, I would say it probably is. It will be the greatest year of his career. And by the way, good for him. It's an MVP caliber year. He hit, nearly 50 home runs. He was an amazing player. He's not that player anymore, but that's okay. And I think where it gets, assuming the money is right, it's always going to come down to the money. And I get that. That's fine. But assuming the money is right, can he get to the point where he comes back in and just understands his role as a different guy? Like, I don't have to be Shohei or Freddie or Mookie or one of those MVPs. I need to be a really solid role player in the major leagues that moves around a lot, fills a lot of different positions, and bats somewhere, between 6 and 9 in the order. That's just the way that it's going to be. Can he accept that? Can he live with that? Like I said, money's makes a lot of things smooth out some rough edges, but I think he fills a really specific role for this team. And if they, at first I'm like, nah, man, no Cody Bellinger. I've seen that, been there, done that, not interested. And then you look at the numbers and what he's been able to do, and he would be a really good fit for the Dodgers now.
He was one of the great homegrown stories that this franchise has seen in recent times. I mean, yes, you already mentioned his accolades, Rookie of the Year, 2017, just 2 years later, MVP. The 2020 World Series, you don't win it without Cody Bellinger's plays out in the outfield or his great home runs. And then the slide happened, injuries, including that bizarre shoulder dislocation from celebrating with Kike Hernandez, that great home run in the 2020 postseason. They absolutely derailed him because his swing changed, his confidence crumbled, and the numbers showed it. But the great part is, why is the reunion now being thought about? Is because he reinvented himself. In Chicago, he rediscovered his consistency. In New York, he became the type of player championship teams love. Elite defender, bat-to-ball guy, low strikeout rate, and someone who can play two premium positions at a high level. And the thing right here, Travis, is if he felt protected behind Aaron Judge, can you imagine what could happen behind the 3 MVPs that would be ahead of him in this lineup?
And I think that's a great point. Obviously hitting left-handed in Yankee Stadium is different than hitting left-handed at Dodger Stadium. That short porch in right field at Yankee Stadium probably caught him a home run or two extra along the way. But again, you don't need Cody Bellinger to be a 30 home run bat. You need Cody Bellinger to be an effective defender. You need him to be a good hitter, not a slugger. You need him a guy, like you said, bat to ball guy, a guy that can fill in a variety of different spots. And you're dead on. Batting behind that murderer's row of guys that they're going to throw out there again will give him ample opportunities. He's not that guy that, hey, we need you to bat 3rd or 4th in this lineup and slug 35 home runs. No, we need you to bat 7th. And if you hit 20 home runs, we're going to be thrilled. Just don't strike out a ton. And yeah, I really have started to turn around on this and come to really think it's a good idea. I think it's a much better, because the price point is going to be a lot lower than a player like Kyle Tucker, right? Yep. Kyle Tucker is pretty one-dimensional. Kyle Tucker's really good, don't get me wrong. But Kyle Tucker would be a star, right? Kyle Tucker would come in, and I don't know if he slides into the culture of this the way that I'm fairly certain that Bellinger would. Bellinger, knowing his role at a lower price point, I think is really interesting.
And the Dodgers, they want someone who can bridge the gap between their outfield of today and the young outfielders of tomorrow that we were speaking about on Wednesday's episode. And they also want someone who won't require precisely that type of mega deal, who's going to, let's be real, the Dodgers bank ain't going to be broken anytime. It's like they can spend however much money they want this winter, but I feel like Bellinger's price point is going to be way lower compared, or not as lower, but not as high as the high ceiling ones when it comes to, you mentioned Tucker, one of those names.
Yeah, no, look, the Dodgers could spend their money on whatever they want, but what makes them the Dodgers is that that's not what they do. They have almost an endless bankroll, but they don't spend money like they have an endless bankroll. They don't do that, what the hell, just throw money at, we'll get, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't really matter. Even with the economic power that they have, they still execute it very strategically. Like, you look at almost all of the deals they've signed, whether it's Snell, whether it's Yamamoto, whether it's Ohtani, they're kind of at market value. They have not blown the market away to just make sure they get these guys the way that the Mets have done it, the way that some of these other teams have done it to make sure that they get these guys. The Blake Snell deal, I think, is the perfect example. That's a deal that a lot of other teams could have offered that they chose not to do it. Or if they did, the Dodgers were right there and they chose the Dodgers because of the winning. And I think that Bellinger is another one of those deals that, yeah, could they just flat out buy him by blowing away the market? They could, but they won't.
And here's another thing too. If you sign him to a contract that's higher than 3 years, 4 years, Freddie Freeman's contract is up after the 2027 season. So you could just put Bellinger from being center fielder to being your first baseman on opening day in 2028 with no problem at all. And you know that he's a Gold Glover in the outfield and that he's an elite defender also at first base. And that right there solves the question of, but what happens when he's not elite out in the outfield? Well, he has a position right there that he can cover. And here's where it's going to get tricky too. The Yankees also want him back. Trent Grisham accepting his qualifying offer, that doesn't help him out a lot, but they're still in the mix. So how motivated will the Dodgers be to win a bidding war against the Yankees for a player that they once cut loose?
Yeah, the bidding war is interesting, but here's the other thing that the Dodgers can sell. And the Yankees can sell it too, but maybe not to the same level of the Dodgers. Hey, man, you won a World Series with us here. Come on back. Let's go get some more. We keep winning, and we're going to continue to win. And the Yankees are, the Yankees are the Yankees. Let's not be, silly about it. They certainly can sell winning as well. But recently, the Dodgers have kind of been the class of all of this, clearly. And to be able to go and say, hey, you got one of those rings on your hand. Why don't you come back and get a couple of more? It's a powerful argument.
Hey, that's pretty cool, though, for Bellinger, being able to say, I won a World Series with the Dodgers. I played out there at Wrigley with the Cubs. I played at Yankee Stadium with the Yankees. I mean, you're going three iconic. Yeah, exactly. It's like he's going and he's competing with the other teams with the Dodgers. He actually won. So a Bellinger reunion would be one of the most fascinating full circle moments in Dodgers history. And honestly, it makes more sense than we expected. The price has to be right, though. But the fit, we know that the fit is 1,000% real. All right, so where are we going to watch Cody Bellinger next year? Because MLB just signed a media deal that changes where Sunday Night Baseball lives, puts the Home Run Derby on Netflix, and brings NBC back to baseball. Next on Locked On Dodgers, we break down how it impacts Dodgers fans. The NFL season is here, and honestly, there's nothing better than being at the stadium, surrounded by fellow fans, cheering on for your favorite team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and prices jumping out of nowhere at checkout, it's just flat out frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets, delivered on time, and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple of taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. The app made it super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat before buying. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Check out our YouTube channel where you can subscribe for free. Smash that notification bell so you never miss a beat. Full episodes, hot takes, breaking Dodgers news, and more. If it drops, you're on it. That's how you become an everydayer here on Locked On Dodgers. All right, MLB's massive media shakeup. This one is huge for baseball fans everywhere because Major League Baseball struck a brand new 3-year media rights deal with Netflix, NBC Universal, and ESPN, covering the seasons from 2026 through 2028, so the next 3 years. And this isn't just some behind-the-scenes paperwork update. This actually reshapes how fans watch baseball in a big way.
Yeah, it really does. It's like you said, Harry, you got Netflix, you got ESPN back in the fold. They were never really out. Like they said they were out, but that was one of those, are you really? Like, let's see whether or not they actually walk away from this. It brings in NBC and Peacock. They're back with a package. They're going to have the Sunday night game, which is kind of interesting. You know, I'm old enough to remember where the Saturday afternoon game of the week on NBC was a very big deal. So there's a little bit of nostalgia thrown in there. What I think is really interesting, Harry, is there are 9 different places that are going to carry Major League Baseball. You know, you throw in Apple TV, you throw in your local cable providers, you throw in MLB Network, you throw in TNT. Like, there's going to be a lot of places carrying Major League Baseball. So I think it's exciting for baseball fans that baseball is thriving and has the ability to go to all these different places.
Yeah, and that's exactly what's happening because the 2025 season was one where viewership jumped across the board. Biggest postseason in 8 years, Game 7 drawing the biggest audience for a baseball game in 34 years, and MLB jumped on that momentum. Here's what stands out. You already mentioned the numbers, but NBC gets Sunday Night Baseball. It's the first time in a quarter century that NBC is back broadcasting regular season baseball. And right here, a little issue is that there's going to be conflicts with football and basketball. So whenever there's a game that's at the same time as a hoops game or a football game, baseball will only be on Peacock and the NBC Sports Network. So me personally, I don't like that. I don't have a Peacock subscription. So I'd be like, man, I got to pay to watch this game. So that's right there. One thing. The second one, Netflix is officially in the live sports game. Yeah, they do some events here and there with boxing, with other sports, but this right here gives them the Home Run Derby, opening night exclusives, and special games, including the 2026 Field of Dreams game and the World Baseball Classic. This right here is massive. And look, Netflix, most of us have Netflix.
Yeah, and look, I think it's exciting that these properties that these platforms want baseball. I think that's the takeaway from me because, you know, I'm a little bit of an older guy at this point, and I've been hearing about the death of baseball baseball. Nobody goes to baseball games, and I'm always looking around like, have you been to a baseball game? If you looked around, half the crowd there has their kids with them. Baseball's not going anywhere. It may not be the way it was in the 50s and 60s when it was the number one sport in the country. The NFL swallowed up everything, and the NFL is going to be King Kong as far as I can see into the future. But baseball, I think, has really kind of bounced back in a really exciting way to where it felt like baseball was a distant third to the NBA. I don't think that's true anymore. I think that baseball has really started to close the gap there, and that Peacock wants it, that Netflix wants it, that Apple wants it, that these other places have said, yeah, we'll take some baseball content. I think bodes really well for the game. And to your point, Harry, yes, most of us have Netflix. Maybe some of us have Peacock. Maybe some of us have Apple TV or whatever. But wherever your streaming lies, and even if you're still like a cable subscriber, like, by the way, that's me. I think I've got everything there is to get. You can still watch baseball, and you can still be able to watch your local team on your local outlets as well. I think that's an interesting part of the ESPN deal is it's like 5 or 6 or 7 teams that their local cable provider went out of business basically, and baseball had to take over the production of those games. All of that will live on the ESPN app, so you can still see your local team in night after night after night. So I think this is nothing but good news for baseball.
And right here also ESPN. They're keeping midweek national games, and they're acquiring the rights to sell MLB TV subscriptions. That right there is very interesting because MLB TV already broke records with nearly 20 billion minutes watched. So you know that right there is a franchise that it's like they wanted it. They've spent big bucks for it. And now the good thing is that next year you could still buy it through the MLB app, which I feel is huge, that you don't have to go through ESPN to get it. Or, for example, for me, I get it for free through T-Mobile. So I'm cool with that. Or like I actually paid for the Sportsnet LA package, which was available online for the first time this year, because it's crazy, Travis. There's like 8 teams that are blacked out in Vegas. So it's ridiculous. Fun. Yeah, like the A's, the Giants, the Padres, the D-backs, the Cubs for some reason, the Dodgers, the Angels. It's like ridiculous, but I was able to pay for it. I'm like, as long as I'm able to pay for Dodger baseball, that's what keeps me happy. And right here, we're going to be able to do it. Where are the Dodgers involved right here? So far confirmed, they're going to be a part of NBC's first big opening day feature in 2026. Dodgers, D-backs. This is going to be the first of many of those Sunday night games that we're going to see on NBC on a national network. That's big.
Look, this Apple TV got me simply because they had a couple of Dodger games. It was as easy as that. The Apple TV had a couple of, I'm like, well, I don't want to not see tonight's game. I'll sign up for Apple TV. And I bought it. And that's the way that it goes. And so the Dodgers, if you're a fan, I don't mean to put anybody, but you're the Minnesota Twins fan, right? They're not going to be dying to put them on Netflix. They're not going to be dying to put them on ESPN or NBC or one of those things. The Dodgers are one of those teams that everybody's going to want as many of those games as they can possibly get their hands on. So if you're a Dodger fan, you're going to have that remote control in your hand a lot. You're going to be flipping around to find other things. And, the vast majority will be where they've always been, but the Dodgers are the number one commodity in baseball, and everybody's going to want a piece of it.
And just to close this segment out, Fox, TBS, they stay the same with their World Series postseason games. So that's huge. So for fans, it's more platforms than ever. For MLB, more reach. For the Dodgers, even more spotlight. Not that they needed it because they already got the whole world already watching. And speaking of Dodgers Spotlight, coming up on Locked On Dodgers, Travis Rodgers sat down with Dodgers legend Ramon Martinez for an in-depth conversation out at Legends Attic. You'll hear stories, insights, and memories next.
The NBA, it is back, right? It's not Christmas, the unofficial opening of the NBA, but it's playing, and there's no better way to get in on all of the action in the NBA than with FanDuel, because FanDuel, they're the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So it's, maybe you'd like to get down early, but maybe you'd like to be a guy that waits a little bit, see how the game unfolds, see who gets hot. And you're like, okay, this is going to end. I want to get in on that. Or this is going to continue and I want to get in on that. So FanDuel, what they have live bets on everything from who's going to score that next fourth quarter bucket to that epic fourth quarter comeback. So you can combine your live bets into a same game parlay, and that means a shot at even bigger payouts. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Who doesn't like that, right? So right now, FanDuel, new customers, you get $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head on over to FanDuel.com, sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find Travis on social media at Travis Rodgers on X and Instagram. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. Ramon Martinez. Travis Rodgers was able to catch up with the former Dodgers All-Star at Legends Attic for a great conversation about his career, his favorite memory as a Dodger, sharing the clubhouse with icons like Valenzuela and Hershiser, his favorite Tommy Lasorda story, and much more. It was fun. I already watched it, Travis, because I worked the pre-production situation here behind the scenes, but I enjoyed it a lot.
No, it was great. And I absolutely love talking about any era of Dodger baseball, but I get particularly excited when you start talking about the Dodgers of the 80s and the early 90s. Those were some of my favorite eras. I kind of go back to where we got started, or where I got started, I should say, in the mid to late 70s. And by the time you got into the late 80s, I was fully baptized in the lore of Dodger baseball. And Ramon Martinez was a big part of that. It was a real pleasure to get to speak with him.
I already watched it and heard it. I enjoyed it. So now it's your turn to enjoy it. Here it is.
We're here with a legend of LA Dodger baseball, Ramon Martinez, who spent 11 years with the LA Dodgers. Ramon, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to me to be here for a while.
Yeah.
I haven't been in a while in Los Angeles, but very well, it's an honor to be here.
Yeah.
This part of this very great. It is a great show. I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is. So let's talk a little bit about your career as a Dodger. You obviously, you had a no-hitter. You had the 18 strikeout game. It was, somebody my age getting to watch you pitch night after night. Do you have a favorite memory as a Dodger? Like when the first thing that pops in your head, what goes to the top of the list?
Well, the first thing that popped in my mind was the first time my first game when I opens up against the Giants, 1988.
Giants too, yeah.
Yeah, so that was my first the impression of being in Major League in my debut. I mean, that's some of the memory that I had. I mean, like my 18th strikeout game. There's so many memory. My greatest memory in sport in my whole career, it was here in Los Angeles.
That 18 strikeout game, did you know you had something going early? Like, hey, tonight's a special night?
Well, I think it was like I was locked in, probably early in the game. It's like you really figure out how the thing was going. And I would like first 3 batters that I faced, I strike out 2 guys, 2 out of 3. And then in the second inning, I went 2 out of 3. And then after that, I got 3 strikeouts in the following inning. And then you see what's going on. I didn't know about the record or strikeout because from what I see after the game, I realized that I just tied. I hear that the crowd scream like, "Oh, it's the record!" So I kind of looked back a little bit, looked to the scoreboard, and I saw like, "Oh, Ramon Martinez, he just tied Sandy Koufax strikeout record." So, wow. So that time, then I started pumping out because I was so lucky and just focused on the game that it was like I didn't know that I was getting so many strikeouts. I know that I was those kind of games where you really enjoy. And
did you have all your pitches working that day?
Yeah, everything was working that day, and I mean it's unbelievable. That one of my greatest games that I ever had.
So when you obviously team like the Dodgers, setting any team record is an incredible accomplishment. But all of a sudden, you see your name next to Sandy Koufax. I mean, that had to be surreal.
Yeah. Sandy, he's one of the greatest. I mean, he's a great man, a great human being. There's a lot of respect for all that Dodgers pitcher from the past that it was easy for you as a young player to see all that surrounder of Drydale, Koufax, Padre, Newcomb, all those guys that you see surrounded, you can talk to them. It was very special. It was very, very, very special that we had those guys. Also, coming up to the minor league, I see Orges, I see Valenzuela, those guys. You can talk to them, you can ask questions. So that was the main thing that give us as a minor league, or give me as a minor league, like that confidence to stay in the major league.
What was it like coming up with a team that, like you just said, it's Fernando Valenzuela, that's Oral Hershiser, got made guys in the major leagues, and here you come as a young player, and to be teammates with guys like that, and to be in a rotation with guys like that.
Yeah, it was, like I said, you had the whole package. At that time, you didn't have the technology or the information you have today, but back then it was what they already accomplished, all that information that those veteran guys they have. So those are the ones that that we received from them. Mm-hmm. All the information, especially breaking into the major league. I was like, okay, I don't know, I don't know this guy, but it was easy to me to ask them, how this guy, and spend time on the video room with them and see how this guy, how can we get him out and like that. So there was a good information that that we as a minor league we can get. We easy to us to get to them.
Give me your favorite Tommy Lasorda story. Everybody that had Tommy Lasorda as their manager has a Tommy story. What's yours?
Well, mine was that Tommy, he one of the greatest, great motivator, a guy who bleeding and blew. That was what we see since when we were kids in the minor league. He was always giving us that enthusiasm, that inspiration. I mean, give us that confidence that you guys, you can make it, and that was it. I mean, he was unbelievable, because one of the things that I remember was that I remember one time I was I was on the mound. I was kind of a little bit in a tough situation on the mound. So then Tommy comes in. There's a situation where the manager comes in. He will take you out, talk to you and say, hey, look, I want to get this guy out, kind of like that. So at some point, he came to me, and I expected like he's going to take me out. I said, he's not going to take me out. He just went up there and said, hey, Ramon, talk to something not either about the situation that I was. He just went and said, asked me like something about the academy, the Dominican, or something like that. And I was like, everything's fine there, or kind of that. But it was something that I didn't expect.
Off subject.
So he gave me that confidence. I'll say, hey, Ramon, you can do it. Come on, let's go. Yeah, so it was great motivation.
How old were you when you signed?
When I signed, I was 16.
16.
Yeah.
So you went into the minor leagues when you were 16 years old.
Yeah.
What was that like? I mean, that's a kid.
Yeah. I pretty much, we break early. It's for a young player. At 16, you should be at school.
Yeah.
But that time, to me, it was a little different Dominican. Like you can make that decision to sign at a very young age. At that time, they decided at a very young age, and I think all what I learned, it was about the tradition of Dodger organization. That was the main thing.
And in the Dominican too, the Dodgers had a big footprint.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, at that time, they had the academy in San Pedro de Macorís, and then after that, a couple years later, they built up the complex in the Dominican. So it was something that you bring, it's something that you learn even from you as a kid in the Dominican. You grew up hearing about the Dodgers. You grew up hearing about players from the Dominican. At that point, there was Toronto and the Dodgers. That was the more popular organization where there was major players.
They were actively scouting you guys.
Exactly, yeah. So at that point, I mean, it's like, I like to be a Dodger. I'm a blue. Yeah. That's always. Yeah. So and those are the things that make me motivate me to grow. I see how the O'Malley family they treat the player. They treat the player as a family. Mm-hmm. So that's how we grew up with. We can see Peter O'Malley. We can see the whole family. We can see. I mean, we stay in Vero Beach at that point in Florida, where everybody was together, major league, minor league, everybody. That's why we have a very easy access to get in touch to the player, to the major leaguer. It wasn't like, okay, the major leaguer, but we have access to get information from them.
So you mentioned family, and your brother was a Dodger with you, and we won't go over, your brother Pedro getting traded to the Expos for Delino DeShields, but what was it like for you? You get to play with your brother, like a dream come true. You get to play with your brother in the big leagues, and then all of a sudden, he's on a different team. Yeah,
at that point it was a little bit, it's a little bit you as a player. When you grew up, especially when you're young, with your younger brother, you bring your younger brother, and you know that he's capable, what he's capable to do. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I respect the decision that the Dodgers made at that point, because they're the one who made the decision. So they thought that the decision it was right, so they make the trade. So one thing for Pedro was harder because he don't want to be away from me, like he want to be, with his older brother. Yeah, and he was a little disappointed. But at the time, I explained to him what how this works in baseball. You can get traded anytime, so it's not in your control. So he was a little bit upset then, but then
he seemed to get over it.
Exactly, yeah. So I think that trade was for good, because he got the benefit of trade or making his own name and work, because today he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he was okay. It's one of the great pitchers of all time, and one of the great baseball families of all time. A couple of guys that did what you guys did. Ramon, it was a real pleasure. Thank you so
very
much.
Great insight right there from this Dominican hurler. I mean, Travis, what a guy. Hopefully we can get to have him more out here in LA, because he said it had been the first time in a while that he had been in Southern California.
I don't like that he encouraged Pedro to go to Montreal and kill it, though. He should have said, "Nah, man, let's find a way to keep you here and go from there." But it was a great conversation. Great to hear from Ramon.
No doubt about it. And stay tuned here throughout the offseason. We'll be getting interviews with Dodgers from the past, with broadcasters and everything in between. So it's the offseason, but it's the most fun part of the year for fans that always love staying tuned to everything related to boys in blue. All right, that'll do it for today's episode. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. If you're still craving more baseball talk, have the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night be your second listen. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Next week is Thanksgiving week, but we will be here with you, Travis. It's a nonstop. It's 24/7, 365 pretty much here on the Locked On Podcast Network.
Can't get enough, Harry. Always baseball season here on Locked On.
Exactly. We appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real. Keep it Dodger Blue.